Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Promoting a Healthy Mindset at a Time of Stress and Change with Natalie Moore and Lisa Saunders. Today you are listening using your computer speaker system by default. You'll have the opportunity to submit questions to Natalie and Lisa by typing them into the questions pane on the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time and we will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. Natalie Moore and Lisa Saunders are both health and wellbeing educators at Own Your Health Collective, where they aim to inspire and help businesses create best workplaces for staff to thrive in. At Your Own Health Collective, we take a holistic approach to wellbeing to help improve the everyday health, performance and energy of you, your people and your workplace. Please visit their website at www.ownyourhealthco.com.au. I will now hand this over to Natalie and Lisa.
Thank you so much, Ada, and thank you so much for having both Lisa and myself here today to talk about promoting a healthy mindset, and particularly with our current time that we are experiencing, around stress and unprecedented change. So we really do appreciate the opportunity to share a topic that we are so passionate about. So who we are. Obviously, Ida gave us a beautiful introduction. So we've got Lisa there on the left in this photo, and I'm there on the right, also up in the corner too. And Lisa is a certified nutritional health educator, and I am a certified wellness and mindset educator. And together we have been able to bring a wealth of knowledge which really aims at supporting individuals both in life and at work to boost their health and well-being, their performance and their overall energy. So I'm just going to touch on quickly the learning outcomes for today. So I'm going to begin by talking about what is a healthy mindset and what does that look like. I'm then going to talk about understanding where you are today, and particularly with where you are today around stress and the change that you may be experiencing. I'm also going to talk about the importance of healthy habits and how we can use healthy habits to promote positive health and well-being. And then Lisa is going to get into the real nitty-gritty of the presentation and providing us with strategies on how to manage stress, how to manage change, and of course promote a healthy mindset that we not only can use today, but definitely into the future as well. And then we've got some summarized strategies on how we can make this part of our day into the future. So whenever I run a webinar or I do any type of talk, I always start off with this self-reflection exercise. Now, this is an exercise that you could do in your workplace, and you might do it the end of the week, so maybe on a Friday afternoon, where you get together with your team and you reflect on these 3 questions. Another option to use this exercise is doing it at home around the dinner table with your family. I do this with my husband and my 5-year-old. And whilst we're having dinner, we reflect on our day. And the beauty of this exercise, and particularly at a moment of today, is it allows us to really have some meaningful conversations. If you think about it, a lot of us are stuck in the mindset around, what's not working, what we haven't got, what we're struggling with, but we're not really talking about it, and we're not really sharing those feelings or those things that we're experiencing. The purpose of this great exercise is that it allows us to open our eyes up to the good in our day, no matter how bad our day may have been. It allows us to notice a good moment. It allows us to talk about our struggles and try and normalize struggle. And particularly, again, with our current circumstances, really appreciating that struggle is part of life, whether we have COVID-19 or not. And then it allows us to turn this struggle into a learning opportunity, or looking for ways that we can gain support to help us through that struggle. So the 3 questions is, what is going well for you? Okay. What are you struggling with? And what learning or support do you need? Very simple questions. And, when you probably initially start doing this exercise, it might take a little bit of time to particularly think about the things that are going well, because we have a negative bias in our brain. And so our brain will always revert to the negative or the things that we're struggling with first. But it also, when we think about what we're struggling with and turning that into a learning opportunity, it can sometimes take a little bit of time to cultivate that thinking. And hopefully over the next couple of slides where I talk about a healthy mindset, I'm hoping that might give you some strategies on how you can start to bring about that growth mindset and look for opportunities through struggle. So a really great exercise that you could spend whilst you're watching this, if you wanted to stop or pause the recording and write out, even do a self-reflection exercise for yourself, or after the recording, do this with your family members or with your work colleagues. So what is meant by mindset? And I have to say that when I do talk about mindset, it is one of those concepts or those words where people sort of look at me a little bit perplexed and, say to me, what do you mean by mindset? We all have a mind, but we also have particular mindsets which come from our beliefs. Okay, so the things that we've grown up and evolved and come to believe as true. It also is shaped by our experiences, our own traditions, perceptions, and think about, perceptions around what we're currently experiencing. What is your perspective around our current circumstances? Plus, we also develop a mindset that I've always done it that way, or it's always been done that way, or I've always felt this way. And so we shape particular habits and particularly health and well-being practices around our mindset based on these factors that have, evolved throughout our life and reached to where we are today. And so the challenge with mindset is that we get caught up in these past experiences. We get caught up in these beliefs that when we experience stress or change, we tend to respond the way we always have. We don't see that there's an opportunity to reach out for support or learn from it. We tend to respond in that typical way. And again, as I go through the next slides, I'll talk about our typical response to stress and also our typical response to stressful change as well. So if we extrapolate mindset, I want to now talk about what is a healthy mindset. Okay, so what does a healthy mindset look like? And it's really a result of managing our thoughts. If you can reflect on that past slide where I've spoken about beliefs and experiences and perceptions and traditions, that all starts in our mind. All right, and it cultivates these thoughts in our mind. And so when we can actually control our thoughts, manage our thoughts, we're then starting to look at things in a more positive, opportunistic, growth type of mindset. When we can cultivate positive thoughts, it allows us to cultivate positive emotions that have a positive impact on our health and well-being, because what we think in our mind equals what we feel in our body. So the emotions that we feel in our body. And so then as a result of those feelings, we tend to respond in a certain way. We take action in a certain way. Now, I will just add a bit of a disclaimer here, because again, I do get looks of, people looking at me when I talk about positive emotions and positive impacts. This isn't about constantly living in a state of positivity 24/7 or in a state of happiness 24/7. We as humans are turbulent in life. Things change, things evolve. And again, prime example with what we're experiencing at the moment. But healthy mindset is about noticing the emotions and the thoughts that we're experiencing, regardless of whether they're good or they're bad. And it's noticing them, it's acknowledging them, and then it's letting them pass through you, or choosing a way to react or respond. And just in fun, and just, I guess, in summary there, it's about embracing opportunities and nurturing that growth mindset. And I'll talk a little bit about that fixed and that growth mindset. But again, it comes back to noticing, what am I struggling with? Where do I need support? And how do I learn from this? How do I turn this into some sort of opportunity that I change my thoughts and change my patterns and habits around how I respond to this? So what is inhibiting a healthy mindset today? I mean, there is lots, right? Because, life as we know it has been turned upside down. And, that has as a result brought about an increase in stress, but it's also changed the way that we've reacted to stress as well. So we're constantly, reacting in that fight or flight mode. And if you think about, the situation where people were panic buying, toilet paper and flour and breads and things, that was them, being in that reactive stress mode. They've entered that state of default thinking where, this is so bad, my livelihood is being turned upside down, I've got to respond and feed these negative thoughts that I've constantly got in my mind. So stress is definitely impacting our healthy mindset. The drastic impact of quick change. Now, change, if you think about it, is really the only constant in life. We are forever changing. We are forever evolving. But what we've had over the last few weeks is that drastic change, which has come really, really quickly. Normally we have, slow, managed change, whereas this has just been, we're doing one thing 1 minute and now the next we're doing this now. And so that is also having an impact because that's cultivating these negative thoughts, that's feeding these negative emotions and this stress. And the biggest issue around this drastic change is not knowing how to manage the change. We've been thrusted into this new life and we're not sure how we manage it. But I have to say, I think as a whole and as a society, we're doing pretty well. And I think given our exposure to technology, we're managing it really well and doing a pretty good job. And then, of course, negative thoughts, which, again, is a result of this quick change and a result of this stress that we are, flooded with constant thoughts of things that are not working or things that are going wrong. And it's important when we talk about thoughts that, the average person has about 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of those thoughts are on repeat cycle. So they're constantly repeated. So what we were thinking yesterday is what we'll be thinking today. And it's that negative bias, which is flooding our brain with these negative, worrying, fearsome, anxious thoughts, because it's trying to protect us from change and from stresses that we are experiencing or witnessing. So they're the three things that are really inhibiting our healthy mindset today. Now I want to talk about some of the effects of stress and, our typical stress response. So as I've alluded to before, stress originates in the brain, okay? Our brain interprets the environment around us, okay? It notices that something is changing and it's different to what we've done before. And so our brain gets ready to take action and it gets ready to flood our body to respond in a way that is protecting our livelihood. And this is typically the fight or flight response. So some of the things we might feel when we're feeling stressed is our mind might race. So it's full of thoughts and things that we think we should be doing. We might become dizzy, vision might be blurred, difficulty swallowing, heart racing, trembling, sweating, restless, nauseous. Now we may not actually notice all of these things happening, but what I've found through not only me teaching others around stress and responding to stress, but my own experience is that when we start to acknowledge what triggers our stress response, we start to notice these things happening in our body. And the beauty of looking at stress responses is that we can change the way that we respond. And we can start to manage that stress response a little bit more. So this is our typical fight or flight response, and this very much was very useful back in, caveman days where we would have been up against a grizzly bear or a saber-toothed tiger where, it was a life or death situation. But unfortunately, our body and our brain cannot tell the difference between us being isolated at home or stuck in a traffic jam to that being a caveman up against a grizzly bear. And so our response to stress has not changed. It's exactly the same. And the challenging thing with stress is that it takes a while for our body to return back to its normal state. it takes a while for us to, return the heart racing, the trembling, the sweating. It's that impact, that long impact of these effects. And unfortunately, because of heightened stress and ongoing stress, we possibly find ourselves in this fight or flight mode for hours on end across any day. Now, there is a silver lining to stress. It's hard to believe based on that image I just shared you, but it's not stress itself that it's the problem, but it's rather the way that we react to stress. So think about it. We are triggered by a stressful situation, and our typical fight or flight response may be that we lash out. We might scream, we might swear, we might kick, cry, curse, whatever that may be. And that's the problem, the way that we respond to stress. And so this is where the mindset comes in. If we see a challenge or a stress as a threat, we will view it negatively. And that conjures that fixed mindset in our brain that we tell ourselves that, it's always been this way. There's no other way to change it. I don't have the tools. I don't have the means to change it. This is how I've got to respond. This is what I have to do. But then when we look at stress and we actually look at stress as a challenge or as an opportunity, and think about, the times where you've had to meet an urgent deadline, or there's been an increase in your efficiency or performance, or a product launch, or something that's happened in your life which has made you rise to a challenge, that is actually our growth mindset. Being triggered in our brain, where we're being fueled by this stressful situation, but we're rising to the challenge. We're actually feeling excited by it. And if you can recall and reflect on a situation that you've been in, it allows us to really nurture our strength, really look at things that make us feel good, and utilize those to support us meeting that deadline. So one thing that I want you to have a think about, and really important when it comes to managing stress, is it's understanding where is your stress coming from. Okay. And again, if you are watching this as a recording, you might want to stop it and make a note about, some of the things that cause you stress. At the moment, yes, COVID-19 is that umbrella stressful situation, but what are the things beneath that for you that are causing you stress? Where is your stress coming from? And it might not just be today. This might be, into the future as well. What typically triggers stress? So I will encourage you to spend some time noticing what triggers that fight or flight stress response in you. Where do you feel, and what happens in your body when you are being triggered? And I can tell you that, just having this conversation and sharing concept around triggers and acknowledging your stress, you will start to notice little sensations in your body when stress starts to rise in you, or you're faced with a stressful situation. So I'd strongly suggest that as a first step, you spend a couple of minutes taking a note of what causes you some stress. So I want to talk now about cultivating a healthy mindset for healthy habits. And I touched on this before, that our mind is our biggest influencer when it comes to managing stress. It's about changing our thoughts and noticing our feelings. And, what I love about the mindset and the brain is that we can actually change our thoughts, and we can rewire our brain. We can create new neural pathways in our brain just simply through the thoughts that we have. And, acknowledging stress and the way that we respond to stress is a really great starting point to try and cultivate that healthy mindset and build some healthy habits. But we also at Own Your Health Collective strongly believe that supporting the whole us is important to promote a healthy mindset. So I've spoken a little bit about stress and how we respond to stress and our thoughts. But what we will be talking about is one of these pillars that Lisa will cover off is around physical health. So this is the 4 pillars of a healthy mindset that Lisa and I have created this framework. And there's quite a wealth of information that sits behind each of these pillars. But what we're going to cover off is the physical health. Other pillars include the mental health, emotional, and the spiritual health. And they, again, are very important. And the reason we have created these 4 pillars of a healthy mindset is because it takes more than us just being physically healthy. You know, there's emotional connections, it's understanding what's important to us, it's our mental health and nurturing our mindset, which really helps support and create healthy habits within our life. So I'm going to hand over to Lisa now, where she's going to take the reins and bring in her wealth of knowledge around physical health and some of the ways that we can cultivate a healthy mindset to support stress and change.
Thanks, Nat, and hello to everyone. So I want to talk through some strategies to manage stress, change and promote a healthy mindset. And it's really depicted well, the three things that I'll talk about in this picture here. It's this round circle of nutrition, sleep and movement just going around us and how that can impact us moving forward. So Nat, if you want to just go on to the next, yeah, cool. So one of the things that we like to remind people about in this healthy mindset is sleep. And the fact is that we're probably not getting enough sleep and it's affecting our mindset and our stress levels. It is the pillar of our physical and mental health. And you can be eating really well and moving really well, but you really need sleep. And we suggest that 8 hours sleep on average is a necessity. It's not a luxury. That's what you should really be aiming for. So how can you have a restful sleep? So few easy things that are not foreign to any of us. Commit to the same bedtime every night. Get up and go to bed at the same time every day, including your weekends. Sleeping between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. is really ideal. This is where a lot of the repair work goes on within our bodies during these hours. So, you know, a whole lot goes on that we want to rid the body of and repair it. Step away from the screens. And I know at the moment this is a really hard thing to do. And I have to say that I'm probably one of the culprits with this because there's a lot going on at my house and I tend to do a little bit of work later in the evening. But ideally, it'd be great if we can be putting them away by 8 p.m. Your sleep hormone, melatonin, it can't be triggered while there's light coming in through your eyeballs. So that's why we encourage people just to wind down, darken the rooms and just relax a little bit. If you find that you still need to be working along with the screen, there are some things like a blue light blocker glass that can nudge that melatonin along while you're still looking at a screen. But ideally, we want to put them away. Go to sleep in a cool, dark and comfy room. This really helps. Switch your lights to low instead of having bright overhead lights to keep your bedtime ritual really relaxed. This again stimulates that melatonin, the sleep hormone, and it actually starts signaling to your body to wind down and get ready for sleep. Nutrition is our next one, and it's really important where we want to nourish and manage our stress with whole food nourishment. And this is something I'm really, really passionate about, or that we're both passionate about at Own Your Health. Nutrients in particular that support stress and anxiety around not just COVID-19, but just around our stressful times. You know, it comes in ebbs and flows through life, right? So some of the things to be on your radar are things like magnesium, B6, iron and fibre. And I just want to talk a little bit more about those four things moving forward. So magnesium, research has found that magnesium reduces anxiety through the role it plays in regulating our neurotransmitters, which are the way that these send messages through our brain and our body. Magnesium deficiency has also been associated with several neurological and psychiatric diseases like migraines, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar and stress. So it goes to show that incorporating foods that are high in magnesium in your diet will support your body through the day. You can find it in foods like nuts, seeds, avocado, dark leafy greens, especially spinach, whole grains and beans. There is a little bit of a point of concern here because there's obviously a lot of vegetables and we're not eating enough vegetables. So we need to be really mindful that we are getting a good amount of greens in our diet, which has an impact on our magnesium levels. The next one that I mentioned was vitamin B6. All B vitamins are extremely important, with B6 especially associated with panic attacks when our blood serum levels of B6 are low. So we do know that the body uses more B6 in times of stress, which means we run through it faster because we're stressed, so we need more of it. So at the moment, we're all going through a pretty stressful time, which means that we're using up these nutrients quicker as we process the stress. So foods high in B6, really easy foods: turkey, eggs, bananas, nuts, wholemeal products, yeast, nutritional yeast, liver, potatoes, green beans, cauliflower, carrots. They're all really good sources, and there's tons more out there. For vegans and vegetarians, nutritional yeast is a really good product as well, and it can be added into your meals also. And it's really interesting to note that research shows that women who consume more food are less likely, or more B6 through food, are less likely to experience anxiety as well. The next one was iron. So low levels of iron are a well-known trigger for anxiety, which is important to be aware of since it's actually one of the most common nutrient deficiencies that we have in the world. And interestingly, because women are more likely to have low iron, they are also more likely to experience stress and anxiety. So it's important to get enough iron in the diet to prevent that iron deficiency from occurring and support your stress and anxiety levels. So foods that are high in iron are organ meats, red meat, legume, nuts, pumpkin seeds and molasses. And don't turn your nose up at liver. It's something that if prepared well and cooked well, it can be quite palatable. So through a pate, chicken livers are a great source and probably one of the most easygoing on the palate for you to try starting with. The next one is fibre, and it's important for so many reasons. Dietary fibre feeds our gut bacteria to produce something called short-chain fatty acids, and these appear to decrease our anxiety levels. So short-chain fatty acids are major nutrients made in our gut from the fermenting of dietary fibre and prebiotics. So instantly you can see the fibre from what we eat is an instant source for these short-chain fatty acids. A high fibre diet also prevents poor blood sugar balancing from occurring, which is also associated with anxiety and stress. So again, it's really important to be getting those fibre foods in with every meal to make sure those sugars, stay balanced as well. You can find fibre in a lot of foods. There's so much choice out there, but we're still not eating enough. So whole foods like fruits and vegetables. Again, green, brightly coloured vegetables tick off the fibre, tick off the magnesium. For instance, kale is a dark leafy green in the same vegetable family as broccoli and Brussels sprouts, and it's absolutely jam-packed with fibre. So there's nothing hard about these foods here, obviously, that can help with your stress levels. So this talk about fibre also presents a timely reminder as to the health of your gut biome, or the bacteria that lives within your gut. And again, fibre plays a huge role in how well your gut functions. A less than healthy gut biome has now been shown to directly correlate to stress and depression. So it's really important that it's not just about what you're eating, it's also about the quality of what you eat, how you digest it when you eat, chewing your food properly, and how you absorb it and how your body uptakes those nutrients. So if you've got a healthy gut, it will absorb those nutrients from the food better. If your gut isn't so healthy, well, then it's going to compromise the absorption of those nutrients getting through to your body and having a direct impact on your stress. So specific foods that promote gut health so that the microbiome or that bacteria is fueled, there's plentiful. So things like prebiotic foods. This is the fertilizer for your gut. It keeps it happy and, I like to say, joyful. So think things like onions and garlic, asparagus, bananas, potato starch. So potato starch is a form of resistant starch that's super uber helpful for prebiotics. You'll recall I mentioned short-chain fatty acids earlier and how fibre contributed to their production. Well, this is where prebiotics are also involved here as well. So it's really important that your diet includes these prebiotic food sources to give the fuel to the bacteria in your gut and the short chain fatty acids. Probiotics, these are foods that contain microorganisms that exist within our gut, and we're replenishing them. And you eat them in adequate amounts, and they convey a health benefit on the host, and that host is you. So think of things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, kombucha, or kombucha, whichever way you say it. They're really good options as well. So another really easy to get in food for your gut health and food support is broth, and I call this liquid gold. It's magnificent for gut healing, and obviously I talked about having a healthy gut also increases your absorption of the nutrients that you're eating through the food that you put into your body. So it supports your digestion and your nervous system. So as a gut healer broth, you can make it yourself, or you can buy some products out there that are pre-done. Broth contains an essential nutrient called glycine, which is an amino acid that slows down the production of norepinephrine. So norepinephrine, big word, this induces feelings of anxiety and can contribute to stress. So we want to just make sure that's slowed down and that's not getting out of control. So that, if that's on par, this means that it can decrease the specific instances of anxiety or lessen the intensity of the feelings when they do come on. So that's it for the food. One of the other things that we talk about is movement. So we're famous for being a sporting country, but the sad thing is that around 75% of us aren't moving enough to meet our minimum daily recommendation for exercise. And virtually any form of exercise can help manage your stress levels and contribute to a positive mindset and the stress management. So it's all about making it happen by working within your timeframes and picking a physical movement that you enjoy and that you really connect with. So you've got to make it easy for you. What your girlfriend or your partner or whatever is doing may not be the right exercise for you. So that's something to keep in mind. Regular movement will lower the symptoms associated with stress and depression and anxiety. So it will also improve your sleep, which is often disrupted by stress going forward. On to you, Nat.
Sorry, thanks, Lisa. Even though we work together, you're still a wealth of knowledge every time I listen to you. So hopefully everybody watching has gained some great insights. Now we just want to do a bit of a summary and provide some strategies on how you can manage stress and change and promote that healthy mindset that we've been talking about. I know we've provided quite a lot of information here, but as Lisa mentioned in the last slide, it's all about, a little goes a long way. And we've got a couple of very simple strategies here that you could think about and consider and look at what may work for you and how can you then bring that into your life and your daily routine. So the first strategy there is about working in with the time that you have. And, especially given right now, we are probably more time poor than ever to a degree, particularly if we're working and homeschooling and, managing many different roles. But, we're big believers that, you could spend 5 minutes doing something, whether it's movement or 5 minutes of, creating a smoothie or something that's going to make you feel good. And it's simply about working with the time that you have. So if 5 minutes is all you have each day, I'm big for scheduling things in. So set your time, write it out in your diary or set a reminder in your phone and make it that's your 5 minutes. And it's more about building consistency around these habits and practices rather than the practice that you're doing, right? Because as you start to build in these habits that at 10:30 each day, I'm going to spend 5 minutes where I walk around the block or I make a smoothie. We're trying to cultivate that habit and bring it into our day as part of a natural thing that we do each day. So work with the time that you have. Don't overcomplicate it. So we're probably all very familiar with the KISS acronym, you know, keep it simple, stupid. And simple and simplicity is really our ethos at Own Your Health Collective, because, you know, there is a wealth of information out there. There's so many things that we're told we should be doing, and that is causing confusion. And so if we can just come back to the simple things in life, and, you know, we covered off some of the key things here around physical health, you know, around sleep, food, the way that we eat, and also movement. And it's not about trying to set big audacious goals that, you know, are going to be so tricky to even achieve. It's about, again, starting small, working with what we have, knowing what we're good at and our strengths and what we can bring about, and doing that simply. And then thirdly, a big one here, and I've spoken about this previously, is about acknowledging where you are today. A lot of the time we could get caught up in where we want to be in the future, what we haven't done in the past, or what hasn't worked for us in the past, but we actually really forget to acknowledge and be present with where we are today. Now, when we acknowledge where we are, we want to use a sense of self-kindness and self-compassion, and not judge ourselves for, you know, what we've done or how we've ended up where we've ended up. So it's just about really saying, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's causing me stress. This is what's triggering, you know, my negativity and my feelings of anxiety and fear. And looking at, okay, what can I change? What can I realistically change, simply change with the time that I have? And it's, you know, acknowledgement is really one of those key things that a lot of us do not do a lot of, because we try and always cover things up or move things really quickly. And again, if I bring you back to that initial 3-question exercise, that is the perfect exercise to start the conversation with yourself, but also with others, in acknowledging where you really are today. And then how do we then cultivate that growth mindset, that we move through things and look at opportunities to learn and grow and change. Let's go to the next slide. So just in summary then, and to bring it all together, I'm just trying to move my screen. So you really, as I mentioned before, want to consider your mindset and where you are today, okay? And have a think about, what does your mindset look like? You know, do you have that fixed mindset where you feel like change is not possible, or you don't have the tools or the means to bring about the change or the healthy habits that you desire? Or do you have that growth mindset where you're looking at things as opportunities to grow, no matter how big or small? And you probably ascertain from our presentation, smaller the better, particularly to begin with. But where are you today? We can create a healthy mindset, okay? We can negate that negative bias that our brain has, and we can bring about those healthy, positive thoughts to bring about those healthy habits. Understand where your stress response is coming from. And I had you do an exercise earlier on in the recording. Really acknowledge what's triggering your stress. What is the trigger? And then think about how your body responds. Consider the 4 pillars. Now, we covered off the physical health pillar, but there's 3 others there, with mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And we strongly believe that to have, you know, thriving health and well-being, we need to try and cultivate a sense of balance and health and habits across all those 4 pillars. Use stress management strategies to support the mindset. So look at sleep patterns, your nutrition, how are you fueling your body? And, you know, changing that conversation around food, that, you know, food isn't just about food because we need it. It's about nourishing our body for performance, for energy, for that healthy mindset to help us grow and be the people that we want to be. And then, of course, movement, you know, and acknowledging that, you know, we need to have some type of movement in our day. And you know, all of these things that we've discussed allows us to manage our stress, manage our response to stress and to change, and, you know, go about maintaining a positive mindset. And really it's acknowledging that, you know, I'm prepared to try and promote a healthy mindset in myself. But if I have a day where things don't go as planned, that's okay. I'm going to acknowledge where I am, and I'm going to come back and come on course the next day. So again, that's where those consistent, small, simple practices are really important. And if we could just leave you with a quote, which we absolutely love, and that is, the most important thing is knowing the most important thing. Okay. And in the sense of a healthy mindset, or when it comes to health and well-being, really the most important thing is you, is us. And, you know, it's up to us to be able to nurture us so that we can be who we want to be at work and in life, and to the people that we care about most. So Lisa and I really love to thank you for coming along and giving us the opportunity to share our knowledge around promoting a healthy mindset. As Ida mentioned before, this is our website, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as LinkedIn also, and our email address there also, should you wish to make contact.
Thank you, Natalie and Lisa. This was a fantastic presentation. Now, it doesn't appear we have any questions. However, if any do come to mind, please send them through to info@ownyourhealthco.com.au. I will include the email address as part of the email I will send you tomorrow. That will have a copy of the recording along with the slideshow. So in that case, if there's no questions, on behalf of Natalie and Lisa and APPA, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.